What stands out? What do you key on?
How tight it is. Think about this. This is inside the margin of error, and not just simply in the national polls. You can say somebody's ahead by 2 points nationally, but, you know, Hillary Clinton was ahead in the popular vote by 2.1, and she lost. But is the dynamic different this time around? And how these things are on knife's edge when we have polls showing us, you know, 1.2 point, or if you average them together in these states. Think about this. Pennsylvania, Real Clear Politics says Pennsylvania is 0.7% for Trump. 538
Wow.
says 0.1% for Trump. And Silver Bulletin says 0.3%. And if that doesn't scare you, it's flatlined in Real Clear Politics and down for Trump from his previous numbers in both 538 and the Silver Bulletin.
And we can show you one more. This is USA Today, Suffolk poll. Kamala Harris 49, Donald Trump 49 in Pennsylvania. And that is likely Pennsylvania voters. I want to ask you about this Iowa poll. It's great to have you here to be able to explain it. This is one thing that Nate Silver said about it, that the poll had little effect on our top-line electoral college numbers because Iowa has only a 1% chance of being the tipping point state. He also said that Ann Seltzer, who put out the poll that showed Harris having momentum in Iowa, that it was gutsy for her to put the poll out because it is such an outlier.
Right, it is.
But she is an honest broker, and that's what she found.
Right. And look, she's a good pollster, but even great pollsters don't get it right each and every time. To me, the biggest thing about this poll is that it would show an 11-point shift from the outcome of the 2020 election, which would mean that roughly 1 out of every 5 people who supported Donald Trump in Iowa in 2020 would today be saying, I'm voting for Harris. And I think we'd feel that. So, you know, we have an Emerson poll that shows, I think, a 7-point margin for Trump. He may be underperforming what he did 4 years ago, but he's not underperforming 11 points. We'd feel that 1 out of every 5.
And also, if Harris and Walz actually thought they could win Iowa, wouldn't they have actually made a visit?
But look, the last-minute polls tend to lead people to do weird things. You may remember our experience in 2004. There was one poll done in Hawaii that showed Bush, Cheney in striking distance, and the vice president said, I want to go to Hawaii, which he was on the final weekend. But, you know, President Trump was in Salem, Virginia, and Albuquerque, New Mexico. There's no real evidence that either one of those states are close. Maybe an outlier poll or inside the campaign.
So you start to think Iowa has 6 electoral votes. Right. But, you know, based on the battleground states, you know, you can see a path for either one where Iowa, in the end, may not even matter.
Right.
But if I was thinking that way, and if that poll is correct, then you got to think, well, maybe Wisconsin is thinking that way as well. Just something to consider as we go into Tuesday night. Went back